Hey everyone, it's Barbara Ann. Welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context. Copyright disclaimer. Under the Copyright Act of 1976, I am within my full legal right to share these following clips via video and audio. The following creators allow reshare, redistribution, and download of their content, and as always, I credit in the description box down below. Fair use, public domain, TikTok third-party license, and TikTok Live automatic third-party license for the use of commentary, reaction, teaching, news reporting, research, comment, and criticism. I am legally within my basic human, civil, and constitutional right to share under the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. To share my expressions, views, thoughts, opinions, feelings, and critiques. The First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees my freedom of religion, freedom to exercise of, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, free assembly, and the right to petition the government and air my grievances. The First Amendment does not cover lies that amount to defamation, slander, libel, harassment, stalking, cyberstalking, bullying, cyberbullying, threats, or any other verbal crimes.
In case you wanted to see Stephen's response to the RO and his disagreement with it, stay tuned.
Okay, buckle up. This is the update on the Laura Clery and her ex-husband, Stephen Hilton, drama. Court records, restraining order records, and text messages have been leaked.
This was released over on the Stephen Hilton Snark page, and somebody messaged me about it. Thank you so much to that person. You're amazing. I appreciate you. This is kind of long, so it might be in a couple of different videos. We'll see how far I can get in one video. So this first part is pretty standard. This is just the response to the DV restraining order. It did have his name and address. You can still see his name. I did block out his address. This again is just pretty standard. I am gonna go ahead and pause on some parts. That top one for the no contact order. He states, I would like no contact also, ideally, but I do want to see my children as before. I'm assuming this would involve a handoff situation like we were doing without any issue until days before this frivolous order was delivered. Stephen clearly has no idea how to professionally and without showing a ton of emotion respond to something like this, so this doesn't surprise me. Again, nothing on this page. On this page, I do want to draw your attention up to the top. He says, I absolutely and categorically refute any battery accusations. I have never lifted a finger in anger to anyone in my entire 51 years. This is frankly a petty and vindictive and untrue accusation. There is, of course, no proof. I have never battered anyone. That's funny because your arrest for DV would say different. On this last page here, I think it's the second to the last, you can see under number 28, it says I should be able to see my children. This has been barbaric enough already. I should always know where they are. My son is severely autistic and nonverbal. It's funny because he seems to talk an awful lot. Like, I don't think he's completely nonverbal. I think that he definitely has some speech delays related most likely to his autism, but I don't think he's completely nonverbal. I am his only point of contact that truly knows him in that way. He cherishes our time together. Stephen forgets, of course, that he has Poppy, but you know. Stephen, you have a daughter. Come back for part 2. In case you want, okay, I told you this was going to be a long one. This is part 2 of the DV restraining order. This is the part at the end where Stephen's allowed to refute and back up his claims. Pause to read here. I'm going to try to give you a long enough time. Hopefully that was a long enough time to pause and read, take a screenshot, whatever you need to do. I do want to point out a couple of things here. He does say there have been documented injuries, burns, broken bones, facial trauma. For context, I'm a well-known composer who has scored over 50 Hollywood movies. He goes on to name them. He moved to LA at the personal request of Hans Zimmer. The number of times this man has name-dropped Hans Zimmer. He states at the end, I have never had trouble with the police in my life until Laura had the nerve to have him arrested. He says until Laura had him arrested. You mean for the DV charge, Stephen? Is that what you're referring to? When you broke into her house and like destroyed her kitchen, allegedly. He also goes on to post a series of screenshots from his conversations with Laura. Pause to read. Pause to read again. Pause to read again. This is just pretty standard stuff. It looks like they're just having conversations about the kids. Pause to read again, and here's what I found was very interesting. He says, yeah, it was. Are you free to catch up this afternoon? Seems like a lot has happened in your world, and I just wanted to check in. He doesn't say like, hey, it seems like a lot's going on with the kids. Like, can we catch up? Can you tell me what's going on with the kids? It's a lot is going on in your world, Laura, specifically you, not the kids. Let's get together. So go ahead and tell us again, Stephen, how you just can't stand her, how she's the worst, most manipulative person ever. But you know, you need to check in and see what's going on in her world, right? He states at the end, again, that she's filming the police visits, which isn't against the law, Stephen. You did something that required her, allegedly did something that required her to have to call the police. It's not against the law to film them while they're there. She told my kids I want to unalive him and had my beautiful 3-year-old call it a new man dad in a video the world keeps telling me about. I do want to know your thoughts on this, guys. What are you thinking? This just seems completely unprofessional, and he definitely, I don't think, had Brian help him, but this is just insanity. There is no need for you to go out to coffee together. You don't have a relationship with Laura. As you keep telling us, you just want to see the kids. And yet this seems very, very focused on Laura's time, Laura's life, getting updated on Laura. What do you guys think? Okay,
I'm going to start this off by saying, look, I'm not going to hold any grudges against anyone. I'll forgive everything. But for fuck's sake, this is barbaric at this point. When I saw what I saw, saying insane stuff got me angry. And then when I saw that it didn't look like there was any basis for any of those accusations, and I didn't do any of it, and I know it's difficult to get out of, but look, in the interests of moving things forward, everywhere I go in my house, there's little reminders of those little guys. I go to get a towel from the airing cupboard, I hear a little ticking, and I look up and there's the unicorn clock that I bought for Poppy. It was the first thing she ever asked me for, and I haven't seen them for 2 months for nothing. So, if anyone, you know... 2 things have really surprised me in the last month or so. One is that I went to the desert, I wrote 2 books, one finished, one half finished. I released the first one, chapter by chapter, on my Patreon, and I went, oh! People are loving it, and I'm so grateful. The reaction has been out of this world. It's being released to tears, keep it and up, every week a new chapter. And you can tell me what you think of it. Be brutal, although you've been lovely so far every week. This week's is my kids, my music on my mind. It's just gone up. Go and have a look, listen, read. It's an audio book, so enjoy it. Don't look at the title and get freaked out. I'm not going to do anything. I want to be able to discuss that when you cut off someone's access to the only thing that they've ever loved for 2 months, the obvious conclusion of that is that extraordinary sadness is going to happen. And when extraordinary, unrelenting sadness happens, your mind starts to think about things that you won't do. I would never do it, but I want to be able to discuss it. You can't even say the word on social, and yet it's an epidemic. So how is not talking about this helping anyone? I'm not going to do it. Don't send people here. I want to talk about it. I've been a professional artist for nearly 40 years. So it's my job to go to difficult areas. It's my job. That's what I do. I go to difficult areas. I go to the edges and I come back and I tell you what it's like there. So you don't have to go. It's my job. So I should be allowed to discuss shit that I'm going through ever since my kids went away. Let me talk about it. I'm an artist. Let me express myself. Nothing's going to stop me doing this. That's what I've been put on this earth to do, is reflect back society in my music, or turns out now writing or videos.
As you can see, Stephen Hilton himself has been very active on Facebook, Patreon, Substack, Instagram, TikTok, and yes, he has been making money. But so has Laura Clery. Some people believe that Stephen Hilton is innocent of the claims that have been thrown against him. A lot of people support Laura Clery. They believe that Stephen really is a narcissist, like he says, that he had committed domestic violence in the past, and that his behavior on social media is very telling. Here is a brief summary. Laura and Stephen both were addicts who found each other and were together for almost 15 years. They were married for a long time. They have 2 children, a 6-year-old autistic son and a 4-year-old daughter. She has been a comedian, an influencer, a content creator, and an author for over 12 years. She's on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Patreon today.
If this were the last conversation we ever had,
Yes,
what would you want to make sure that you told me?
I love you, and I'm proud of you. Always have been. Yeah, I mean it. Absolutely, from the bottom of my heart.
Really?
Unconditionally.
Thank you. Unconditionally?
Unconditionally.
Really? I could do anything?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. I mean, you still have to follow the 3 basic house rules.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Those are?
Don't antagonize the crazy people.
Mhm.
Ooh, you got trouble now. Yeah. That's
Okay.
one of them.
Whoops.
Be careful with your heart and be careful with other people's hearts. That's it.
No, there's a third, and let's say it at the same time.
Oh, never
trust a woman with big hair.
You know, those greaser chicks when I was growing up, they were scary.
We got the page back, right? Which is good.
Well thought out on his part. Because
Are you giving him props?
no, not really.
Well
But
thought out,
no,
Tim.
it's just that
Well played.
no, well thought out.
Well thought out.
Very,
Yes.
you know, this is on
Strategic.
purpose. He knew that probably you could get the page back, but he knew this was another way to screw you.
And what really fucks me up is you're not screwing me. You're screwing our children.
Yeah.
I'm the sole provider for our very young children, and you're going to take away the main income stream for their mother? Oh, he's a good dad. He was just a terrible husband. No, if you treat the mom like shit, you're a shitty fucking dad. Sorry.
And if he wasn't considered one before, what he's doing now is a pretty nasty dad.
Yeah.
He's not putting the kids before anybody but his own feelings.
Yeah.
Some people believe that Laura Clery is just doing all of this for attention and for monetization because her content has dried up, and that she is blasting all of this personal beef between her and her ex-husband for content and monetary gain. Now, some people aren't wrong about that, but Stephen Hilton himself is doing the same exact thing. A few months ago, it was alleged that their 6-year-old autistic son ended up getting burned, and that Stephen had tried to text and call Laura, who lives only a mile away, over 40 different times. Long story short, he supposedly breaks into her house, destroys and throws everything in the kitchen, and breaks a door. She calls the police. He gets arrested for domestic violence. She gets a domestic violence restraining order against him. Now, a couple weeks ago, I've been covering the drama on my YT and on my TikTok. Stephen had cheated on Laura and relapsed years ago, so she decided to divorce him. But despite them making all this content together and even talking about co-parenting and the divorce, his relapse, his cheating, she still ended up having to get a domestic violence restraining order against him a few months ago. Allegedly, he was arrested and then he was released because he didn't have any prior record, and he's, I think, 51. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Stephen Hilton is 51. He originally had visitation with his children, living only a mile away from them. However, Laura had one rule: no drugs or alcohol when you have the kids. But only a few short weeks ago, Stephen Hilton allegedly broke into and hacked Laura Clery's Facebook and her YouTube, where a lot of her content videos over 4 years simultaneously got deleted. Now, she called the police and reported it as a violation of the restraining order she got a couple months ago. However, Stephen Hilton was not arrested for violating a restraining order. Some people believe that her video showing the police officer that she called to her house to report the hacking incident was actually a paid actor. That was actually proven false, that the police officer is very much real. Laura Clery, however, after all of this happened on Facebook and YouTube, decided to put all of her content now behind a paywall and push everybody over to Patreon. But she's not the only one doing that. Stephen Hilton is pushing everybody over to Patreon and Substack as well. Now, we've seen this convergence before when it came to Facebook over to YouTube, YouTube over to TikTok, following new accounts or following new endeavors and projects, pushing people to their new social medias. So it's hard to say where my opinion stands on this. I'm just waiting to see how it all plays out. Stephen's behavior definitely seems to show somebody who has relapsed, and he seems all too comfortable to not only be there, but to stay in that relapse. Now, Stephen Hilton is a composer, but Laura Clery herself does seem to be exaggerating a little bit. And that is not to downplay the severity of what may or may not have really happened. And she sits down and talks about this all with her mother. But she really doesn't offer any update, any real explanation about everything to her followers and subscribers. And we're talking almost 16 million people on Facebook alone. People speculate that Stephen Hilton is the one that broke into her Facebook because he accidentally uploaded a screenshot while he was actively in her account to his Facebook account.
As you may know, I was hacked yesterday by the father of my children, my very young children who are 4 and 6, who I fully support. My ex proceeded to delete one by one maliciously each and every piece of content, long form interviews, sketches, podcasts, vlogs that me and my producers, editors worked so hard on for the last 4.5 years. He just deleted every single one for the last 4.5 years on my YouTube. On top of that, he deleted my Facebook, which I've worked for over a decade on, with over 14 million awesome followers. I poured so much love into these comedy sketches that I wrote and filmed and directed and starred in, some with over 100 million views. All of that gone, all gone. So, if you want to continue following, especially my long form content, the only place it's available now is on my Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Laura Clery. I release video podcasts every single Wednesday, comedy sketches, vlogs, lives, all of it. So you can support me there if you want. Oh, and on top of that, I've also launched a book club on my Patreon. So every single month we read a new book and we discuss it. And I'm so excited. I was inspired by my mom, who's had a book club for over 40 years, where we can learn and connect and grow together and just have a great community of women who are seeking knowledge and community and connection. So, and fun. That's my goal and my dream, and I'm excited. So the first book has already been announced. You can go there to see it. It's fucking awesome. And yeah, we'll be having a book club. And on top of that, I interview the author at the end of every month, providing they're not dead. So very cool stuff. Again, you can support here and enjoy the content and the book club and the community. For some sick, sad reason, he's trying to erase me, destroy me, the mother of his children. But sad news, buddy, you can't. I'm going to continue to inspire and entertain and spread love and light and comedy and positivity to the world.
I wonder if any other women or men have been through this. You know, they say like when you separate from someone who's not mentally well or a narcissist or whatever you want to call them, I don't want to even label that's when the abuse really escalates. And I'm seeing that. We separated and I tried for years. You guys saw me try. You saw me try to peacefully co-parent, you know, even after he was arrested for domestic abuse. He was arrested for domestic assault, spent the night in jail. I still I forgave him because he begged me that he would do better. He begged me that he would change. He begged me that he would be a healthy father and co-parent and do whatever he had to do.
I personally don't believe that Laura Clery is lying. Stephen Hilton's behavior has become increasingly concerning on social media. The fact that he has to say in a video that the last conversation he had with Laura was that he would go to rehab today as long as you don't use that against me, meaning taking my kids away from me. The fact that he says that he has to barter, I will go to rehab right now as long as you don't take the kids, should have told him right then and there that he should have already been in rehab that day, despite and regardless whatever Laura Clery does and does not do. There does seem to be a lot of exaggeration from both of them, and both of them are making money and content off of this entire situation. He claims that this is strategic by Laura and her team. He swears he's never done anything like this before. He's never actually harmed anybody. However, breaking into your ex-wife's house where your small children currently live and destroying doors and breaking everything in her kitchen, Stephen himself might not find that to be true domestic violence in every sense of the word. However, it was enough that she was able to get a domestic violence restraining order and he was arrested. And despite all of the videos and content she has done, and even the podcast she's done with her own mother talking about this, she still has not given everybody an explanation or any details about what's really happening. She didn't let us know why he was arrested, why he was let go. Did they drop the charges? Did he get out on a PR bond because it was his first offense? She doesn't tell us about Stephen's relapse. Is it alcohol? Is it drugs? Is it both? She didn't offer any real solid proof, like any court papers, any texts, emails, anything like that. She did update everybody to let them know that yes, she got her Facebook back right away. She was able to log back in and get everything restored. It was never permanently deactivated or deleted. And she also updated us to let us know that she had somebody that works in tech who was able to restore all of her deleted YouTube videos, which I had no idea was even possible. But now some of the restraining order legal documents have been released and some of the text messages. What do you think about all of this? Does it really prove that Stephen Hilton is guilty? And if he was, why wasn't he arrested for violating, if he truly did violate the restraining order? Her hacking event happened right as millions of accounts worldwide were hacked into, specifically on Facebook and Twitter. Now, she never shows any definitive proof that it's Stephen, but somebody did take a screenshot of his screenshot posted on his Facebook of him logged into Laura's account, making statuses about himself, pretending to be her, to make it sound like she's bashing him. However, many people don't believe it's true. They believe that they are doctored or that it was somebody else. Somebody who possibly knows who they are or looked into them, which really wouldn't have been hard because the last decade of their lives has been documented. But also, if Stephen is not guilty of these things, why hasn't he just checked himself into a rehab already? Gotten the help and the therapy that he truly does need instead of constantly blaming Laura for everything wrong in his life. I personally don't think she's in the wrong for taking the steps that she has to protect her two very young children until all of this is sorted out. Stephen Hilton does have due process rights, but I'm not a juror. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I don't work in the legal and court system. I personally, with my own opinions, thoughts, and feelings on this, don't have to uphold his due process rights. And it's merely just a principle, a legal principle and standard of which everybody in the legal system has to uphold for everybody's rights. Stephen clearly is guilty of something if he has a domestic violence restraining order against him, meaning he did something for a judge to order that. But is Laura exaggerating some of it? I do believe so. I do believe that she thinks she's being transparent and honest with her followers. However, she's not really telling us much of anything or showing us anything concrete. She's certainly making a lot of content and money off of this and even putting it behind a paywall. However, it's my opinion at this time that there's a little bit of truth from both of them, and there's a whole lot that they're both omitting. I think the truth on this one is really somewhere in the middle. However, Stephen Hilton really does need to get his shit together. And the fact that Laura Clery was an addict herself, this must be very hard on her not to relapse. If he is serious about getting his kids back and ever seeing them again, he would get his shit together and he would check himself in and he would definitely start doing therapy. And that is just for starters, for one. But that decision solely rests with him because as soon as they have another court hearing, a judge is going to want to see what he's doing to prove that he is not on drugs and he is not drinking. And if he cannot do that, then he can't point all of the fingers at Laura and her team. That's not her problem. That's his problem. However, I hope that they are able to work it out, and whatever is best for the kids is what truly does happen. But I do think it's more on Stephen Hilton to really get himself clean and sober and at least stay that way for 6 good months to prove that he deserves to see his kids and spend time with them. Because yes, he doesn't have any history, any criminal history, any domestic violence history. But then again, he was never married with kids before. Also, that relapse very well may be what put him in the position to break into somebody's house, destroy their kitchen and doors. And it may not be in his nature to be domestically violent. But drugs and alcohol can certainly exacerbate that behavior, even in people who aren't typically violent sober. Just because he's a nice, likable guy who just composes music for a living doesn't mean that he didn't do what he did. It also doesn't mean that he is going to do it again. The red flags are certainly there, yes. But Laura making comments on social media that she fears that he is going to kill her and their kids, it's really difficult to know how to take that, combined with Stephen's posting on social media. It doesn't help his cause to say that this is all a setup by Laura and her team. But I will certainly keep everybody updated.
And no, the abuse just continued.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Please like and share, and do not forget to subscribe for updates. I will catch you all on the flip side.